Good evening, everybody. Thank you for waiting. We've had technical issues and just getting used to this whole streaming stuff has been challenging without the very capable and experienced FPL Dave. But we're here. We can see Isaac today, and we're ready for some great chess. Today I'm joined once again by FPL Honey Badger Bandit, whose name is Isaac, and we are going to be having another match in the charity FPL Chess League between FPL Stevo and Rob Marshall. These guys are in Division 2, and they'll be having two games, one with each colour, and I'm just going to let them know now that they can get going. Why don't you introduce yourself, Isaac, while I do that?
Hey guys, so I'm co-commentating with Joel here today. I'm very much looking forward to this game between Stevo and Rob Marshall. We had Stevo on for a stream last night. Not sure if any of you were there for that, but a very nice guy, decent chess player. I think he's made some improvements the last few months, been taking chess more seriously. Says he's very much addicted to the game now, as I'm hoping some of you are as well, or will be.
Yes, it was great to have having him on yesterday. His enthusiasm has really grown for the game, which is fantastic. And we're just waiting for them to start. So if you're in the chat and you're watching, do say hello. If you have any questions about the tournament or about chess in general, we're very happy to answer with whatever knowledge we have. We're not grandmasters, but we are. We've played a fair bit of chess in our time, I would say. So yes. While we wait for them to kick off, I'm trying to think if there's anything. We've talked about FPL a bit already yesterday. Do you play any other fantasy games other than FPL?
No. Like, for me and kind of person I am, having just one game that I really focus on is ideal for me. I know you play a couple, Gaffer and anything else.
4 this season, which is more. I've only ever played FPL until this season, and then this season I've tried Sky, but I know you can't play Sky because of being in Norway, but that's a great game.
Okay.
Gaffer, which is on the Championship, and I'm also playing Champman. Do you know of Champman?
Yeah, they run simulations of do they run simulations from the actual Champman game?
Yes, so they run it based off the it's Champman 0102, and they did it during lockdown, just to kind of cheer us all up while we were in our first lockdown in March, and it really kicked off, and everyone loved it, and it's been really good picking players. I mean, I only know some of the most well-known ones like Ruud van Nistelrooy, and at least before Champman started, because I'm too young to really be familiar with all the players. I guess some of the people who were coming through the ranks as well, the young players at the time that I know. But that's such a fun game. I really enjoyed that. But Gaffer is going the best of all this season. I'm second at the moment. So.
Oh really?
I'm trying to win it, which is a position I never thought I'd be in a fantasy game.
Yeah, how many players are there now?
Getting on for 7,000 now. I don't know how many of them are active managers, but yeah. So that's been really cool. Okay, they should be starting any second. Oh, you know what I like? I'm seeing that Stevo's rating has gone above 1,000 now.
Yeah.
He was at about 600 to begin with, like when he was first starting to play chess and joining in tournaments and things. So good to see the improvement. Oh, I thought they were playing, but
yeah, me too. The spectating option was there for like a second.
Yes. Daniel Tan says, "Let me destroy him." Is that Steve?
Yeah,
Oh, Joel, let me play
I'm
against
up.
Honey Badger.
I'm up for that, Danny boy. Are you in Division 1? I'm very much up for that. For a stream, maybe a show match.
We could do that. We could do. You guys could have a quick blitz game or something at the end of this if you wanted to.
Oh yeah, yeah,
That'd be fun.
yeah, definitely. And you spectate.
Yes, yeah. You could mute me or something, and I could try and commentate on it.
Yeah.
So I believe Steve-O's won one match and lost two. I'm not 100% sure. I think he's won one and lost two, and I believe Rob has. I think he's won. I think he's won one and won one and drawn one. I'm not sure, something like that. But both of these players will be looking to definitely stay in the division, and I don't know whether either of them will be trying to push on towards the top of the table, towards the promotion places. But anyway, we're underway, and we see very very familiar opening e4 followed by e5. Followed by knight f3, and then knight f6 is interesting. That's the Petrov's defense.
Will we see all 4 knights on the board and develop? No, we won't.
We do not. But yeah, for any beginners out there, early opening principles are to develop your minor pieces. So that's your knights and your bishops. Get them into the action. Try and get good control of the centre of the board and get your king castle to safety, which is what Steve-O is looking to do here. Interesting that he chose not to take the pawn on e5. It was free. Do you think he should have taken
it? Probably, yeah. And also it's interesting that black chooses not to go to g4 with his knights. I think that would have been...
I will show a quick line then here, because this is something that can catch beginners out very easily. So if I play knight g4, I need to play a random move for white first. Then you've got the knight and the bishop bearing down on this f2 square. And if he doesn't defend it properly, so I'm just going to play a random move for white again. You can say goodbye to your rook because it's a fork on the queen and the rook. But anyway, back to the live game, because yesterday we started getting behind the live game, and that's something we do not want to be doing. Just a few developing moves. And yeah,
so
go on.
Both players now are above 15 minutes, meaning they have spent less than 10 seconds on each move. That is something that can turn very sour for you very quickly if you suddenly get to a critical moment and you don't spend enough time thinking about it, and then you miss something very bad. We've seen several times in this league that people don't spend their time well enough in the beginning. I have made this mistake too. And then they get caught out and make a mistake. So yeah, spend time.
Definitely.
Think, analyze.
Yeah.
Do not blitz out moves when you have 15 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we were actually talking about this on the stream yesterday, and hopefully Steve-O he's probably taking almost his own advice on board here, which is good.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good, solid start. We haven't seen any mistakes at this point. So with this knight to d5 move, that's 2 pieces attacking this knight on f6. And this knight is currently pinned to the queen, so it cannot move. I imagine it's pretty good for white if I played a random move for black to just exchange to exchange knights because the pawn structure in front of black's king is completely ruined. So I think that's probably what Steve-O's looking to do. But there's not a lot that Rob can do to prevent it.
Yeah, but could Rob just do the same thing? Move his knights into the center, and then, yeah.
He certainly could. He certainly could. We could end up seeing two completely destroyed defenses of each king.
Could turn into a very sharp position here.
Certainly could, and that's exactly what he's done, which is very interesting. He spent a good amount of time thinking about that move. He spent almost a minute and a half, and I'm pleased to see that. He's just almost listening to the advice that we were giving about taking your time in these situations.
Yeah, take your time. Hopefully Steve-O doesn't miss that his bishop is under threat here.
Yeah.
And kind of risky. Okay, yeah. No, the fork. So there's a fork for black here with pawn if white does not decide to move. But instead, for example, defends his bishop. But that fork would not work because you could capture the black knight with the white knight. You know what I'm onto here?
Not 100% sure, to be honest.
So say white moves his pawn to a4 to protect that bishop.
Protect the bishop, yeah.
Not a very likely move, but for example, then black does c6.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah.
And that looks good initially, but white could just exchange knights.
Right, yeah.
Or actually no, because black would capture back with the pawn.
So let's show what we're talking about.
Threaten the dark squared bishop.
Yeah, so it's a very bad thing having two pieces like this where they can be attacked by a pawn. That is a fork. And what Isaac was saying is we could get out of it by taking the knight with check. But when we recapture, now we've still got two pieces under attack and we can't save both of them. So, he's got to take care here, Steve-O, but he's taking plenty of time over his next move, which I think is a good decision because this is actually quite a complicated position, I would say.
Agreed.
The computer likes white's position, not that it means a massive amount when the material's equal, especially at this level, but that could easily turn around with one slightly inaccurate move here. So, yeah, he's got to...
I think a mistake from Steve over here could be to exchange the knights now. And it's sort of the same idea that we were onto earlier. He will then capture back with his pawn and threaten both. Okay, well, he did miss what he shouldn't have missed, I suppose.
So the next question is, does Rob see... Rob is worldwide at the top there. Does he see pawn to c6, which will be effectively winning a piece?
Yeah.
It's difficult for Steve-O because I know he'd rightly spotted the pin, that his knight was pinned to the queen, and he wanted to do something about that. And ordinarily, that wouldn't be a bad move, queen to e8, e1 rather. Sorry, if he wasn't about to lose a piece. In fact, the bishop's free anyway. Never mind the fork; he can just take the bishop with his knight. Yeah, so we see knight to c2. I've lost... Have I lost Isaac? Are you there?
No, I'm still here.
Oh, cool. So we see knight to c2 instead. So he's now forking the queen and rook. So
So, Joel, here, would you prefer to just capture the bishop or to fork the queen and the rook?
I'm just trying to work that out. The thing is, so he's got to save his queen. So if he moves his queen to say d2 or something, or there, yeah, I think he may have played the right move there, because he can do the exchange of the knight for the rook, but then the fork is still possible the next move, right? So then you'd actually win the exchange and win another piece. There's probably a way out of it, some sort of combination that meant the material count that Steve-O lost wasn't going to be quite so great, but I'm not sure what that was. Yeah, so we see bishop takes f3, so trying to ruin the pawn structure. I don't know if he spotted this c6 move at this point. But certainly, we've been talking about this, that when you are winning, it's good to exchange as many pieces off the board as possible, make things a bit more simple. The goal being that, let's say, you exchange all the pieces off the board and you're left with a bishop, and your opponent's just left with pawns and a king. You can use your bishop and your king and your other pawns to eventually hoover up all the remaining pawns that your opponent has, and then you can promote one of your own pawns to a queen. But
okay, so
what's happened
we
here?
had a development, and will Steve-O see this?
It took me a moment, but I've seen it now.
Yeah. So obviously, Rob wanted to get out of the pin, and Steve-O has seen it very quickly. He has moved in swiftly to fork the king and the queen, and there's nothing that can be done about that. That is ugly. Yeah. Rob must be kicking himself after that.
That was a big blunder. That's a big blunder. That is why we say that things can turn around very quickly, and even if you're just one piece up, you never know what can happen. It's good that Steve saw that. So yeah.
Yeah, and he saw it very quickly too.
He did.
Very good spot from him.
So suddenly he's the one who should be converting this this position into a win and going 1-0 up. We will see. Is there anything that Black can really do here to try and pose some sort of threat? I guess first of all he's got to activate his rooks and get them into the game. Neither of them are really doing an awful lot at the moment.
Trying to come up with something here, but I think he needs to act quite swiftly, if you could say, because once Steve-O gets his queen playing, it's going to be hard for Rob to keep pace.
Yeah. If Steve-O doesn't think to kind of get his queen out and he allows Black to kind of activate more of his pieces, start advancing pawns up the board and get the rooks activated, you know, he may have some chances. But if you're Steve-O, you just want to be playing something like queen to c1 or d1, just so that you can then move the queen again to somewhere kind of where it's covering more squares of the board. Okay, so Rob plays a6, just trying to kick the bishop away. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say, like, to start rolling your pawns forward in this sort of motion with tempo, because what Rob has traded for the queen essentially is, I think, a rook and a pawn. Is it? Yeah, a rook and a pawn. So if he can try and get his pawns far up the board, make them a threat, and see how Steve deals with that. Obviously, if Steve
go on, keep going.
If Steve plays perfect chess, there's no stopping him. But at this level, you know people won't play perfect chess. They won't. They will make mistakes.
Yeah, obviously the queen is far more powerful than the rook, but the amount of pieces is the same, and the black pawn structure is a lot nicer than white's pawn structure. So, this isn't over yet, definitely. I'm wondering if he can do something like move his bishop out the way, and then play c5, and just launch kind of all his queenside pawns up the board.
Yeah, and his bishop could move with tempo.
Yeah, where he
moving
put
it
to
b4,
to b4. Yeah,
threatening the rook.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Okay, so Steve is giving away a pawn here, although it is one of his double pawns, but still. Is there a danger of that bishop being trapped? Okay, not anymore. I was thinking if black had captured with his pawn, and then what does white do to save the bishop from the next move, f6, and then g5?
Yeah.
I might be completely
off. It was still there. Yeah. But I think at the end of all of that, all that would happen was an exchange. And, what? Steve-O could just exchange his bishop for the knight. That knight is quite a strong piece there. So that might be the thing for him to do.
Has to take care to defend that pawn, because that could turn ugly quickly if he forgets that.
Yeah, Rob's currently attacking 2 pawns at once, and he's Steve-O may be about to drop the d3 pawn, so he probably should have exchanged his bishop for the knight there, potentially.
Yeah. That knight is a super knight as well.
It is. It's really well placed. A knight supported, defended by a pawn in the middle of the board in your opponent's territory is a very strong piece. Something that I need to improve on, trying to kind of place my knights better and create outposts. It's something that I definitely don't do often enough. Does this move bishop to f2 to you strike you as a bit of hope chess, to use FPL Dave's phrase? I don't quite see what attacking the rook accomplishes really once it moves. I guess you can play c5 like we were saying earlier.
The move accomplishes capturing a pawn.
Right, yeah. I just forgot there's a pawn there, yeah.
Yeah. And then, but I'm thinking if he moves his rook to f1, and then obviously that d pawn is free to capture, but is that pawn poisoned? Because if you then move your queen to b1,
yeah,
is that bishop or yeah? So let's see what happens here.
Okay, so the point here is you might be thinking, yeah, let's grab this pawn and defend my bishop at exactly the same time.
Yeah.
But playing queen b1 is not a good... playing queen b1 is trouble for black, because now the knight's being attacked. You can't defend it with any pieces. So you've got to move the knight out of the way to maybe c5, but then suddenly this knight that was handily defending the bishop has left that square and the bishop falls, so he's got to take care with that.
is a trap that black could move into here. Let's hope
Exactly.
he sees it, because even at this level, if he loses one of his pieces now, I don't see a way back for him.
I think that would be game over if he was to lose another piece. Yeah.
Although we have said that in the past, and then
That is true.
and then a comeback is made.
What would you play instead of capturing the pawn?
That's a good question. Probably just bishop to e3.
That's what I was thinking as well. Or I don't mind that either. Going to d4. Either of those would have been fine, I think.
Yeah, he does lose a pawn now, doesn't he? If white wants to capture the knight.
Yeah, definitely. That's the advantage of going to e3, just defending the knight one more time, so that he doesn't lose the pawn.
Yeah,
that's true.
although I do suppose there were threats of that bishop being attacked further.
Yeah, maybe by moving the queen over to e1, something like that, maybe. Want to see that queen move soon. Definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice to see two players who have now used about half of their overall time, as opposed to there have been games where people would still be on 12 minutes at this point, so that's really good. So he has moved his queen, which is good, getting it out into the fray, and also actually defending the d3 pawn at the same time. So that's a good move.
It does drop the b2 pawn, but I don't see that pawn being very valuable right now.
Well, you say that, but eventually we've got this 2-on-1 majority on the queen side, potentially supported by the c pawn as well. You don't want to be dropping both of these pawns, that's for sure. The a2 and the b2 pawn.
That's true, yeah.
So if he'd played queen to b1, that would have defended both pawns. But the queen would still not really be in the action. Despite kind of white's king not really having much of a defence, it's not under any imminent threat of checkmate. And if anyone's going to threaten anything, the white could eventually kind of mount an attack on the black king that might be quite hard to stop, bringing the queen over to maybe g4 or h5. You've got this bishop kind of lined up here. You've got another bishop that could create threats, and then maybe moving the rook over as well to g1. There's definitely a possibility that white could end this game just by going all-out attack. Although I said the queen could go to h5, that would be an idiotic move because of the knight. Well, there we go. He's played queen to g4, doing just that. So we'll see if he can put together a telling attack here. What would you do if you were black here?
Not too sure, actually. Maybe that plan you mentioned earlier, just advancing the two pawns on the left, might be his best bet. Trying to kick that bishop and then maybe exchange one of them. It's very hard to get the rook in behind them.
Yeah, that's right. I'm wondering whether... So are you saying maybe kicking the bishop on g5? Would
No,
be nice to kick it out as well.
Or you could, but that would just lose you a pawn. Because Steve would probably capture the knight, wouldn't he?
Yeah. Yes, this is true. Yeah, it looks like Rob was quite worried about the attack, which is why he moved the knight back. But I think removing it from such a strong square is probably a mistake.
Yeah, and also he loses another pawn now. There are just so many pawns that can be lost this game. Do you see it?
Yes,
The F7 pawn.
Yeah, so now the rook has the open F file, and there are two pieces attacking the F7 pawn. But instead, he chooses to play rook to G1, so he refuses to do that. Don't know whether he just didn't spot it, but
Probably not. I can see the idea of putting your rook behind your queen, but I think as long as that knight is there, you're not being productive.
It's a
down
slow
that file.
But he could start advancing the H pawn up the board to kick the knight out of the way. If you imagine the bishop has moved out of the way, then you've got the queen and the rook threatening to take on G7.
Definitely, yeah.
So he plays F7, F6, trying to kick the bishop away. That almost serves the purpose of creating this battery with the queen and the rook. Once the bishop moves.
Something interesting here is that if that bishop moves back and then black makes some move, I'm not sure which.
I'll get to the analysis board.
And then the queen moves onto the H5. H5, that would be. Yeah.
So you're
bishop
retreating the bishop to, presumably not to H4, but back in the other direction towards like E2, E3.
E3, yeah, as he did. He moved it there. And then black does something here. Maybe, okay, so black advances his pawn.
Yeah.
His C pawn. And then if now Steve-O moves his queen onto H5, that knight is under threat.
Yeah, so the point is that, again, if we just play a random move for black, you might think,
well,
I could take the knight,
yeah,
but you can capture back, but you can't because the pawn is pinned now to the king. So let's go back to the live game. What's happened? Okay, so we saw bishop going back to E3, then C5, bishop going to E6. I quite like that move, bishop to E6, so that the bishop can, it was about to be kind of blocked in by the pawn, and then it's going to have to retreat to a position where it's not doing a lot, but instead it's, before Rob could do that, he's planted it in his opponent's territory. So I think that's a nice move.
If that was Steve-O's plan, then I'm very impressed. Recognizing that black was about to cage his bishop in and then putting it into black's territory instead. And then with the idea of now moving it into F5.
Yeah, definitely.
And then that would look very dangerous.
That is scary stuff. Yeah. Let's have a look. So if you can exchange off the knight for the bishop, then this open H file is very problematic. There's no imminent checkmate though, so I don't know whether the right thing to do is exchange. But we'll see what he plays. We'll see if he plays bishop F5 here.
Also, with the pawn structure that black now has, advancing his pawns and putting it where he has put them, what he has accidentally done is cage his own bishop out of defending his king.
That's a very good point. Yeah, the bishop is actually not influencing the game at all. How would he go about reactivating the bishop? Maybe putting it on... If he puts it on D4, then he could end up doubling his pawns, which isn't great. But it would be
Yeah, but
exchanging a bad piece for a good piece, wouldn't it?
yeah.
Okay, so he does.
Okay, so he has.
That.
Yeah, very good. Very good attacking move.
Yeah, I like what he's done. You know, he's up material, but he's not. He's being very proactive in trying to attack now and use his advantage well. And all his pieces are ideally placed. The bishop is on a lovely square on f5, protected by that pawn. This bishop is in a really nice central square to eye up these diagonals, as opposed to black's bishop, which is not doing much on b2. The knight, it's not where you'd normally want a knight. It's a crucial defender at the moment. And then the f8 rook's not doing a lot. The c7 rook is defending g8, which is good, but they're both very passive. And whereas black's rook on g8, it may not look like it's doing much, but it's actually very active and very threatening. Okay, bishop to d4's played.
I think we're seeing some strong play from these two guys now. Both are coming up with decent plans to play to their strength and just eliminate their weaknesses in their positions.
I agree. I'm starting to wonder now. Both players are just over 4 minutes left on the clock. I don't know at what point things shift psychologically for these guys, at what point they start kind of, because we were playing Blitz yesterday, and when I got to like 10 seconds, 20 or 10 seconds on the clock, I was going into panic mode, having to make quick moves. At this stage, they should probably still just take those extra few seconds to check and double check their moves, but certainly they can't hang around for quite as long, otherwise they're going to get into time trouble. But they do have a 10-second increment, so every time they move, they gain 10 seconds. So the computer really doesn't like bishop takes g6, and that's because he's lost his bishop.
Yeah.
He just allowed Rob to take that bishop for free on e3. So yeah, I don't really know why he missed that. I don't know whether he thought, oh, I can take this knight, and then he takes the bishop in. It's a free trade, missing that now the bishop will get recaptured by the pawn. I don't know what went on there.
I think that is sort of a beginner mistake, that you think that if I just capture this piece, he has to recapture.
Yeah.
But then when you look into it, he might have a sequence of moves that makes him superior.
Yes.
Like this here. And yeah, I think the right play here from Steve would have been to just retreat his bishop, in my opinion, and then let his rook be captured, and then end up with a queen and a bishop against two rooks. And
yeah, I mean, even if he just played a move like bishop back to e2, he's keeping this really good piece on the board. Okay, the computer doesn't like that apparently, but maybe exchanging was the right thing to do. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, if he does retreat the bishop, he loses the rook for the bishop. That's what I was missing. So actually, he was forced to exchange if he wanted to play the best move there, because retreating the bishop would have lost the rook. So, but anyway, what has happened since? So yeah, Steve-O played rook to g2 to because his rook was being threatened, although it would have been better to actually allow the trade of the rook for the bishop instead of just outright losing his bishop on g6. Okay, then what happened? Bishop f4 check, putting his bishop on a very nice square, and that's where we are now in the position. King h1, okay. If you're yeah, go
on. No, just addressing chat for a quick second. We've had Daniel Tan and FPL Slovakian being quite active. Daniel Tan obviously challenging me to a game later.
I think he's quite
Trash
keen to get
talking.
involved, from what I've heard. He seems to be a trash talker, this guy.
Some very, very brute trash talk, but I welcome it. Please let us hear some more. Be creative. And then some nice encouraging words from Slovakia for Stevo.
Yeah, and welcome to Pullison as well. Good to see you in the chat. And yeah, so we've got the position. If we look at the pieces left, we've got a rook and a bishop against a queen, essentially. But the Rob has how many extra pawns? 3, which will probably prove significant. I would think.
Yeah. Stevo's problem here is that Rob's position is very well covered. He can give a queen check, but that's about it.
Yeah, just do not move your rook off the 7th rank, because then you'll blunder checkmate. Things are about to turn around for Rob, and why has the bar gone heavily in Black's favour? What am I missing?
I think what we're not seeing here is that how does Stevo stop that pawn for queening? He can't, yeah. I think.
So let's have a look on the analysis board. So if we just advance the pawn at the board, he's going to have to retreat his rook back again to defend against this. Yeah, he can't bring in. He can't really bring in a second defender. He could bring in the queen, but he can't really stop it. He'll be able to queen, and then he'll win material there. So that is why I thought there might be a way of trapping the queen or something, which is what I was missing. But you're right. It is just because this pawn can keep running. However, Black played king to g8, and I wonder if that's because he was worried about rook to h4. But really, it wasn't going to amount to anything because...
no, the king could eventually escape.
Yeah, exactly. It could run away. So rook h4, king is forced to go to g8. In fact, wasn't forced to do that. I'll show that in a second. But even after queen h7 check, the king runs away in this direction. But what would have been better probably would have been just blocking with the bishop instead. I don't know whether... I mean, the computer thinks it's objectively better, but I don't know whether it matters too much which move he played. This could get exciting, though, because these players are about to get into some time trouble. So, queen moves to f5. Rook
I was about to say that I think Stevo is feeling the pressure of the clock right now.
Definitely.
He's making a queen move into the center, trying to then check Black or Rob, I should say. But yeah, I can't see a way out of this for Stevo.
Yeah, I think he was hoping to put his queen on e6, but playing rook e7 stops that, but it also isn't defending the c4 pawn anymore. So that was potentially a mistake. He could have just allowed the queen to come in, and I don't think he was under any threat of checkmate. He probably hadn't spotted that again, the bishop can retreat to h6 in the end.
So Daniel Tan says he's the best trash talker in Asia. Let's go. I do believe you.
As well.
Keep it coming.
Thanks for the comments, FPL Slovakia, as well. We appreciate that.
Yeah, very much appreciate that. I definitely need some confidence boost regarding my commentary.
Me too.
Did Stevo miss capturing the... he could have just captured the bishop there. I was distracted by the comments, but yeah, do you see that?
Yes, of
I moved
course.
back.
Yeah. Let me just back up a second. Yeah. So the bishop was free. Reason being, you couldn't recapture with the pawn because of the rook. But he missed it, unfortunately. So we've got queen g6. We need to kind of keep up with it now because they're going to be moving quickly. It's been just an awful lot of shuffling around by Steve. I think he's trying to find a way to create something, but Rob's defending really well. That rook on e7 has been very, very useful defending the pawn on g7, although I would much prefer if it was still on c7 to assist this pawn that's running up the board. We may see the rook on f8 swing over to c8 in a second. Oh no, we wouldn't see that because the queen would take it. Ignore me. Oh, we might see it now actually. Queen to f1. Yeah, what would you do the same if you were black? Just plant a rook on c8 now?
Yeah, probably. Or just, keep advancing the pawn. Yeah, because the bishop is defending the queen in square, so you could just queen regardless.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Yeah, I think Rob is going to take this first game. I don't think there's anything Steve can do. It took him a while to notice that he can just advance the pawn, but he did it in the end. And after some good defending against Steve-O's attack, it's turned around. So this game has been very, very topsy-turvy, with Rob going an early piece up, then Steve-O winning his opponent's queen, but that's still not being enough. And I think that was just a desperation move.
That is panicky. I think he's hoping that Rob captures back with his king, which he obviously doesn't. But he could then check the king on g2 and capture the pawn on c2. But like Dave would say, it's hope chess. And Zero now with 10 seconds soon on the clock.
I think that was the thing. He had 17 seconds when he played that move. I think he was probably panicking a little bit. 1 second, 0 seconds, and his time.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
good game.
Yeah, good game. Never fun to see a timeout, but the position on the board meant he couldn't really do an awful lot about that there. But yeah, that was a very eventful first game. So we're about to have our second game in a second. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that game?
A very entertaining game, back and forth. Rob took a lead. Steve-O then had a comeback. Rob had another comeback on top of that comeback and closed out the game. I think Steve-O won't be too happy with himself. Remember, he also had the lead against who was it that game?
Slovakia, who's in the chat.
Yeah, Slovakia. Slovakia, you probably remember that game quite fondly because you were able to come back from being down material and beat Steve-O. And that's the same that Rob has done here.
Yeah, I think Steve-O will be disappointed. He won't be pleased that he threw away that material advantage. But he'll be looking to bounce back in this next game. I think he can. It's a very different dynamic. We have our Division 1 matches, which are very, very different to the other matches. Because in Division 1, often it just takes one mistake and the game can be over. But in these matches, things can turn around very quickly with just little mistakes that are hard to spot, especially if you're a new player. So, yeah, it's going to be a good second game. Also, at the end, after the second game is finished, we're going to get Steve-O on briefly to talk about his games, and he'll be joining us, and then we might play a couple of blitz games, Isaac and I as well, or we could have Daniel the trash talker, seeing if his chess matches up to what he what's putting his money where his mouth is. That's the expression, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think Slovakia has a fair point in the chat here. Many opportunities for him to get the match done in his favor. I completely agree.
Me too.
But that is sort of and not to be insulting to anyone, but if you analyze a game through a computer, a game played by not very skilled people, the computer will go very back and forth because neither player is able to play perfectly, and both players will make mistakes that a computer will realize and be able to capitalize on, but we aren't. So
yeah, we can't expect this. We can't expect them to play anywhere close to perfectly. I mean, the two of us, we'd be nowhere near perfect either. We've got to give them credit where they've spotted these tactics, like Steve spotting the fork on the queen and the king, things like that. We've got to give them credit where they spot these tactics, and yeah, a lot of these games just about minimizing these blunders, missing combinations, and that's something that takes lots of practice. And naturally, if you're watching and you play on chess.com, and we'll probably suggest this to the players afterwards, a good way you can train yourself in all these tactics, seeing forks and pins, and there's a whole multitude of others, is on chess.com you can play. There are puzzles. If you go to puzzles, you can play, I think on the free account you can do 5 a day, which are basically all about tactics. And there's also Puzzle Battle and Puzzle Rush as well that you can play. Really good training to help you spot these little combinations and how you can win material, how you can win pieces, and also how to avoid making the mistakes. A lot of it is avoiding making those mistakes yourself, allowing your opponent to win material through a tactic or something.
Yeah, I think a weakness in my game is not spotting the tactics enough, and that could be improved upon by doing these puzzles and all that. I've not been good enough at doing the puzzles, only been wanting to actually play chess. But yeah, Daniel, you have this key on your keyboard. It's right by the A key. It's called the caps lock. I think that will fix your problem.
Love that. Yeah, going back to what you're saying about tactics, I think I was missing simple tactics when we were playing our Blitz games yesterday. So when you're playing Blitz, that's a whole other thing. Not only have you got to spot them, you've got to spot them in a matter of seconds. And that's always the joy of Blitz.
So let's look through this game.
Yes.
Rob starts with d4, and we see d5 in response from Steve-O. And
Bishop f4. I sometimes play this. I play the London system.
Yeah.
Something similar. So it's very standard moves so far. Okay, so we've got the bishop on b4, pinning the knight. But I mean, would you just kick the bishop out with a move like a3, or just continue developing your pieces? What do you think?
What do you say? Sorry.
Do you think he should kick out the bishop on b4, or do you think he should just continue developing like normal?
Well, I quite like the response he had there to just cage in the bishop, sort of, or not allow it to retreat. And it won't be caged in and then captured, because he could always just trade it for the knight, but it's not necessarily very effective there.
The Blitz game I won against you yesterday was very similar to this, wasn't it? I was white and I played c5 and eventually managed to break through on the queen side here. It's very similar sort of thing.
Very much managed to constrict my space, the space I had to work with. It was uncomfortable. Yeah.
I like playing that move c5 actually, if the pawn's not captured. I need to do it more often in my games because I really like kind of trying to advance up the queen side and with my pawns and just create a pawn storm and so I need to keep playing moves like that.
And this line of pawns that Rob has here is really nice.
Really, really solid.
Starting with the H pawn on H2.
Yeah.
And it's quite hard for Steve here to challenge that line of pawns. I think.
For sure. Daniel says that he doesn't have enough money to buy a good keyboard, which seems to suggest that the caps lock key is stuck on that keyboard. Not sure whether I believe that.
Stop keyboard shaming me. I'm very sorry, Daniel. I did not mean to discriminate against your keyboard. Yes, I am streaming from prison. How do you know?
Meanwhile, we've got bishop f2 played, so defending the knight. I mean, it was already defended by the pawn, but you really don't want to be ruining the pawn structure, especially if you're going to castle on this side shortly. So
I imagine Rob is going to castle king side here.
Yeah.
There's not much safety for his king on the queen side.
Yeah, exactly. With all these pawns advancing up the board. Yeah. At some point, we'll probably also see the move. I mean, what I would play, if I wasn't going to castle, the next move I'd have played is, apart from, obviously his queen's being attacked once the queen moves, but b4, and then quickly followed by b5, and maybe start advancing the a-pawn as well. But first, he's got to deal with his queen being attacked.
Yeah, I think simply sidestepping that is decent. Moving it to c2.
Mm.
So the plan here for, he did what we talked about. The plan here for black to prevent this storm of pawns. Could he play a5?
Yeah, that would be a good move, I think. Effectively, being able to deal with b4, stopping b4 at this point, because you'd have the pawn and the knight attacking the b4 pawn. Yeah. Okay, instead he retreats his bishop to f5. I don't think there's... I mean, he wants to be able to... He's presumably planning on moving the knight out of the way to attack the queen with a discovered attack. I don't think there's any real square that does an awful lot.
You don't? I think he just... If white does nothing here, he just captures the... or if white does a nothing move, he just captures the f2 pawn.
You think he should sacrifice his knight to blow open the position?
Say white does play b4.
Sure.
Yeah.
Got you. Yeah, of course. He can't take back the knight because his queen's under attack. Yeah.
So how does Rob deal with that?
The move that immediately springs to mind to me is bishop to d3, or moving the bishop somewhere else because then the queen is defending f2. But or moving the queen is also fine, which he's done. Certainly, on the king side, black is the more active and the one who is looking to attack, but the space that white has on the queen side is really good, and he'll be looking. They'll both be kind of almost trying to attack on opposite sides of the board here. So it's almost a race of who can do it first. So if I'm white, I would be at the earliest opportunity be playing b4, followed by b5, as soon as possible. What would you do if you're black here? What would you say that Steve-O's plan is? Ooh, interesting move.
That's a very committing move.
It's aggressive.
Yeah. The thing you need to remember about pawn moves is that they can never move back. All other pieces can move back, but pawns can't. So moving them like that, especially the one in front of the king, is very committing. Oh, and Rob has just gone ahead and captured that, not realizing, I think, that it's defended twice.
Yep, so now he's going to lose that bishop to taking with the knight, and then if you take back with your knight, the queen can take the knight. And move a piece down. He could have just instead moved probably the bishop to e5, where it's defended by the knight, even if it got traded off. So, in a way, that really aggressive move has paid off. I quite like it, even though he's, considering that white's focus is on the queen side, playing an aggressive move like that on the king side means he's going to have to shift his focus away from the queen side. And yeah, it's not a move I would recommend you to just go playing g5 when you've castled your king. But in that situation, I honestly didn't mind it. What do you think?
It's not a move I would make, I think, but maybe I'm just too cautious of a player.
Principled. Sticking to the principles. Don't move those pawns in front of your king.
Yeah, and it also largely depends on who you're playing.
Yeah.
If I played Dave, I would not move that pawn because I know I need it to defend my king.
Yeah.
Okay, so Steve is turning on the aggression here.
Yeah, bishop to d3 is attacking the rook, but what else does it do?
Well, it moves into a central square. It has a look at over a lot of squares right now. And could be pushed away, but only as far... Yeah, okay, I guess it could be pushed quite far back.
Yeah. But Steve could maybe play queen to f6 or something, bring that queen into the game now.
Yes, and bring it opposite of the white king. Looking down on the white king.
Yeah. It's at this point where both players will also be looking to get their rooks into the game. Neither player's really done that yet. Plant the rook on at least a semi-open file. Yeah, he plays queen f6.
Good move.
We'll see if Steve-O can... I mean, like we were saying in the last game, it just does take one mistake. But Steve-O has, again, got a really good position. He's got an advantage, and he'll be really hoping that he can convert it this time and make it 1-1. So a reminder, if you don't already know, on the leaderboard, it's 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw if it finishes 1-1. And then there's also the opportunity to earn a bonus point in each match with an FPL head-to-head. So these guys, I checked earlier, their FPL head-to-head is game week 21, and whoever scores highest in that game week will get a bonus point. Thought it'd be quite cool to introduce a little bit of FPL in there to combine the two great games that we love. So yeah, that'll be exciting. So how have things developed? We've just got queen b3 from Rob attacking the bishop and kicking it away. What would you respond with here, do you think?
I think maybe bishop f5 with an outlook to bring it into the attack towards the white king.
So a good kind of common threat that you see against the castle king. Let's play that. Let's play bishop to f5 and then a couple of random moves for white. If you move the queen over to the h file, ignore the fact that the rook's hanging there. That's just a random move. I just want to illustrate the threat of bishop to h3, threatening checkmate if it wasn't defended by the bishop. But this pawn is pinned, creating a pin pawn. Is often a threat, although with the bishop on f3, it's no big deal really.
So Steve realized something that I actually didn't, and that was that the b7 pawn was under attack as well. So he moved his bishop back to defend that. Wouldn't have been crucial to lose, but like I didn't even realize it was under attack. So fair play to Steve. Rob has made a move that the computer really doesn't like, and yeah, that would be why Steve has recognized Rob's mistake there.
Yeah, so suddenly in moving the e pawn forward to e4, now d4 is undefended, so he takes that for free, attacking the queen and the bishop at the same time, also threatening a fork on these two rooks here. And
the queen. Or I can't see your analysis, so I'm not sure exactly where you are.
Position now. So by moving the queen to e3, he's now walked into that fork, but now it's the queen and the rook. So he's going to lose a rook if Steve sees this. Will he spot it? One thing Steve has got to be careful of here, obviously he got in time trouble last game. He mustn't get too worried looking at the clock and saying, oh, I'm 5 minutes behind. He's still got 7 minutes. He's got a really good position. He, just needs to keep playing solid chess and not rush yet, I would say.
So, which of the two rooks do you capture?
I would take the rook on a1 because after the recapture, white's got to spend another move bringing the rook back over into a more useful position. Would you agree with that?
Exactly. My thinking, exactly. Yeah. You would then bring the other rook into an inactive position on the board.
Yeah, not a major thing, but certainly, if your opponent has to spend extra time to bring their pieces into play, then you can use the time that they're spending to do more useful moves.
Exactly.
Yep, so he's just moved the queen over as he had to. And presumably, Steve-O's just going to take one of the rooks now.
Queen move also defends the pawn on b2.
Yeah,
that was under threat.
The queen was threatening to take it, yeah. Yeah, he did it. He played knight a1. So he spotted that was a slightly better move, potentially.
Good spot from Steve-O. I like his play here.
He's playing really well in this game. I don't think he's made any mistakes yet. I think don't think he's put foot wrong.
I like Steve-O's play in a lot of games, but then part of my friends, goes and fucks it up.
Yeah. He seems to get himself in good positions. And he was saying yesterday the opening is the strongest part of his game. Yeah. So let's hope he doesn't throw it away this time. Doesn't make any big mistakes.
I had an idea for black here to move the king over to h8 to make space for the rook on g8.
Yeah.
And try and somehow, yeah.
Yeah, while the advantage, despite the defences of the black king being sort of wide open, it does create a really useful spot for the rook to eye up the white king, and combined with a queen on the g file as well, black has got a potentially dangerous attack. But instead, we saw rook to e8. I'm not sure what that move accomplishes, if anything.
So white here just brings his rook opposite to the black rook to oppose it in any future lines. Steve decides to trade pawns with Rob, and I'm not seeing many advancements in the score here, really.
Steve has just got to be careful because, if Rob, like he's just done, brought his queen over, if he starts to bring his rook over, be careful, don't move that rook up because of a back rank checkmate.
Yeah, but Steve also has to be careful now, because if he moves his king to h8 at the same time defending that pawn, the queen then coming to h3 threatens checkmate. Yeah, so he does move his king actually to h8.
Do you think it would be better to play it to f8 and just drop the pawn?
Yeah, definitely. I would rather play it to f8. Like, screw that pawn.
Yeah.
And now, I think there's only one move that defends. Or, no, it's actually two moves that I see. Either you move your queen to g7, or you advance your h-pawn.
Yeah. You wouldn't get checkmated if you just moved the king straight back to g8 either, but you'd lose the pawn and...
Yeah, true.
But, yeah, I think probably queen g7 is the best move, and suddenly now that queen is tied down, which is not ideal for Steve-O. He should still be fine if he's careful, but he just... if Rob can create an escape square for his king and then bring the rook up into the game, bring it over, that would spell trouble for Steve-O. But yeah, like I was saying, if he's just careful and defends well, he should be okay. But he is under 5 minutes, and Rob still has 10 minutes. So will time become a factor? We'll have to see. Oh, okay. See you, Daniel, and see you, Slovakia. Daniel's going off to Black Box. Don't blame him, to be fair. Black Box is pretty good.
Later, Daniel, was fun. Definitely understand you going off to Black Box.
Have to be us playing a blitz game at the end then.
Yeah. Should be fun. So white moves his bishop back to c2.
Yeah, that's... I can see why he's done that. That's quite a good move. He's now, if he moves his rook up, he's got the bishop defending the d1 square. So I do quite like that. He's trying to now bring his rook into the game. But now Steve-O is also creating a threat. So both players are creating threats, and both players have to be really careful not to make any mistakes here. One slip up and the other player could lose instantly. So now the queen is defending the g2 square. But instead, Rob plays g3, meaning that now the queen can move later on. The b2 pawn is
Steve,
hanging.
well,
We can't take it because of the threat of checkmate,
Checkmate.
on h7 still.
Yeah, that was what I was about to say. Like, Steve should be careful here not to forget the checkmate threat.
Don't be
I
enticed
could
away.
imagine, him moving his queen out to activate it and try and mount an attack, and then walk into checkmate. Like here, for example, moving it to f6 in the next move.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really hope we don't see that from Steve-O. He could try and neutralize that threat by just blocking the white bishop.
By playing something like, do you mean like playing f5?
Yeah, f5 or bishop d3.
Or bishop d3, yeah. Either of those moves would be good to neutralize the bishop, yeah.
And really just trade off pieces.
Yeah, trading off pieces when you're winning is always a good plan. The fewer pieces your opponent has on the board, it's a lot less likely that they will be able to mount an attack, and then eventually your extra material will win out in the end. But Steve-O, yeah, he's creating counter threats. He's keeping his queen where it is, defending h7, and using his other pieces to attack. And I like what he's doing, actually. His rook on d2 is very well placed.
Yeah, and he could pin that rook to the king. So not anymore.
But now he's walked into rook d1 check, winning the bishop.
Yeah, winning the queen, actually. Rook d1 check, then king has to go to g2, or just block with the rook and lose it. And then bishop to f1 wins the queen.
That's even better. Yeah, so I was thinking this. But instead of taking the bishop, the better move is to play, as Isaac was saying, bishop to f6. And then wherever the king moves, the queen falls, and it's actually quite a long checkmating pattern, but there's a mate coming. And he's played it. He's played rook to d1, and it's looking like Steve-O is going to bounce back and make this a draw, 1-1. So the question is, does he take the bishop, or does he play bishop f1? Either way, he should be fine.
Yeah, definitely. Like, capturing the bishop is definitely winning, but the cleanest approach is definitely, yeah, there you go.
Well done, Steve.
Well played.
Good spot.
Well done.
Yeah, because, especially beginners might think, oh, I'll just gobble up that bishop, it's free. But well done to him for spotting that. Will we see a resignation? Or do you think he'll try and play it out? Okay.
You try here and get fancy trying to mate without capturing the queen. Or do you just capture the queen here?
He'll capture the queen. That's what I'd do anyway. I'd be thinking, I've got 2.5 minutes on the clock. There might be a mate, but I'd have to spend a minute and a half looking for it. I'll just take the queen. Although he hasn't taken it. He's played queen to f6.
Okay, so that's like now Rob can move his rook in between, yeah.
I think he should have just taken the queen because he's not got much time and he just needs to make life as easy for himself as possible.
Yeah.
And now he's just having to think a little bit longer and he's running out of time.
Do you hear check with the rook, offering the exchange, and then checking again?
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. He's done that exact move. Yes, he's using a rook for a bishop. But
the king has to come to either g4 or e4.
So if it is
takes,
it's now mate in 3. So hopefully he'd spot it, but then the king would have to go to, say we put the king on g4, what's the follow-up move here? Queen to g6, forcing to get there, and it's still mate in 2. It's now mate in 2. What's the knockout blow?
I so wish I could see your board now.
Trying to spot the checkmate. You can't spot the checkmate. It is. Okay, it is that. I didn't think it would be queen to h6 and then... the checkmate involves playing f5 as the final move. Checkmate with the pawn. Don't you love it when that happens?
That is brilliant. That's amazing.
Let's see if he sees it now.
Let's see if that happens. I guess it's largely dependent on
Here we go.
what square he moves to. Okay, yeah.
Go on. Queen g6. Do it. He's done it. See, if I was in the real game, I'd have found that hard to spot. I probably would have done a similar thing, but I don't know whether... Okay. See, this is where I got stuck. I got stuck at this point.
Yeah, understandable.
I was like, Queen h6 is the only move I can see, because I knew the thing is, I knew the computer was telling me there's a checkmate. If I didn't know that, I probably would have thought Queen h6 just means the king can move back over, and then it doesn't matter. I don't know what else I can do. It accomplishes nothing.
But here's the big one. Can he spot the pawn move?
F5, mate. Come on.
Like, capturing the queen with the queen is not bad either.
Yeah, it's also fine.
It's not super clean. Or, no, capturing the... Yeah, there you go.
Oh, he's
That's
a different checkmate. Capturing the queen with the bishop.
That is beautiful.
Lovely.
Very nice mating network.
Yes, mating net is what it is in English.
Mating net, yeah.
The rook covering the f3 escape square, and then the pawn and the bishop. Oh yeah, that's really nice. That's a really, really nice mate. Well played to Steve-O in that game. He bounced back really well, and we will be hearing from him in just a moment. And yeah, so thank you for joining us. If you want to stick around, please do. We're going to talk to Steve-O in a second, and then Isaac and I will play a few Blitz games. Maybe either 2 or 4. We'll see what we feel like doing.
Yeah.
I'm just going to... We're just going to go for a second while we get Steve-O on, and we'll be back in just a second.
Online. Sure. Yeah. Or are we online?
You tell
I can see the sound icon on the tab, but no worries. Hopefully we haven't said anything sensitive.
I actually have a feeling we're live, and I'm just showing random things that I shouldn't be showing.
No. I'm on the stream, and it says we'll be back in a few moments.
Just give it about 10 seconds and see what happens.
Yeah. Okay, now it's on the...
Am I fiddling around with OBS?
Yeah, on the...
okay.
Division 1-2. Yeah.
Well, guys, we've got Steve-O here, and you heard all of that. We're still figuring out all the technical stuff. But, thankfully, everything else went a lot smoother before. Anyway, welcome, Steve-O. Well played in that second game. How are you feeling after that match?
I was annoyed at myself after the first game. I know I made a big mistake at the start, and I'm sure you're going to tell me there was a way I could have easily won that first game, but I couldn't figure it out. And obviously ran out of time, but happy to put it right in the second one. Yeah, it was really good. Enjoyed it. I don't think I've ever concentrated so hard.
Yeah. Feel free to get up that first game, actually. We can have a look at it with you. Let me just try and get it up myself. And while I'm doing that, if Isaac, you could confirm that all is good on the stream. I don't know if we can still see. Might not be able to still see you, but
No, you can't see me, but the screen is grey. Mostly.
That is just because of me starting a new call with you guys.
Okay, yeah.
But never mind. Let me try and find. Where are you? Just trying to get up your first game at the moment, and we can have a look at that, and then we'll have a look at the second game. Games. Yeah, so obviously we thought you were in a really good position when you had managed to grab the queen, and I think the moment things went wrong for you in that game was when you played. I don't know if you've got it up. Have you got it up at the moment?
I don't, but I can.
Are we talking about the first game now?
Yes, we're on the first game, yeah. It's when you lost your bishop. I just need to check that. Oh, we've still only got grey. 1 second. Okay. Chess moves. I'm not sure this is panning out quite how it was supposed to. Apologies, guys. You're seeing live editing on stream because we're still fairly I'm still fairly incompetent at this, but should be reasonable. Should be okay in just a moment. Right, let's get that game up again.
Steve-O, we have a very trash-talky viewer here, but he has just commented that you played great. So he has shown you some love that he did not show me earlier.
I thought you were at Black Box as well, Daniel. What's going on?
Oh no,
is Black Box not good enough?
He's back. He's back. We could not get rid of him. I don't think As responded to Daniel's trash talk, so he came back here.
Who is it? Is he a player or?
Not sure.
He's not in the tournament, but he's interested. He does play chess, and he's interested in joining a second season, I think. Okay, you're frozen, Isaac, but we'll crack on because this is probably getting very boring. Steve, have you got the game up now?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Great. So, what we were thinking was the moment where the game turned around for you, the crucial moment was, let me find the moment, it would have been when you played bishop takes g6. What move's that? Move 28.
Let me bring it up.
Be right back, guys.
Oh yeah, so I took the knight on g8. No, g6. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. So what was your thinking behind that move? Can you remember? I know it's the first game, it's quite a while ago.
I think I thought, oh yeah, because he's got my bishop pinned against my rook, and yeah, I see now that I probably should have just taken his bishop.
Right. Yeah.
And I think I just thought, well, I'm either going to lose my rook if I move that bishop on e3, or
Or the
Yeah, I
bishop
don't really
would
know
go-
why. I think my logic was that if I move that bishop to stop it getting captured, I'll lose my rook, so I may as well capture the knight
Yeah,
with my other bishop, just so I get something out of it. But now I'm seeing that, yeah, I probably should have just taken the bishop, and then it's just effectively a trade, isn't it?
yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that was probably the only good move that you had there, just to take the bishop on d4, and then you're still up the queen to the rook, and you're looking very good. And then from then on, we thought you made a good go at kind of trying to attack Rob and create something, but he defended pretty well with his rook on c7, as I'm sure you knew. And to be honest, we didn't think you had much of a chance of stopping the pawn.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't see that rook on c. Well, I saw the rook on c7, but just completely missed that it was defending that pawn on g7 for ages. So I think if you go to move, so if you go to move 30, where I take the one pawn with my queen,
Yeah, I'm there.
I basically thought then if he doesn't defend that pawn on g7, or if he doesn't block my rook beneath me, then I've won the game. And it wasn't until he played the next move and I was just about to move that queen up where I realised, I'm going to get captured by the rook here. So that kind of scuppered me then, because I thought I was kind of had all my eggs in that basket, and then I was suddenly thinking, how do I get rid of that rook? And just couldn't figure out a way to do it.
Yeah, that was your only chance, really, I guess, hoping that rook would move off the 7th rank, but you couldn't really find any way to remove it. There was no way to remove it.
Yeah, he was well protected.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the first game, but we were very impressed with that second game, because, I mean, you were telling us yesterday when you were commentating with us that the opening is the strongest part of your game. You get into some good positions, and then you throw it all away. You didn't throw the second game away at all. You converted very cleanly. That was a very nice checkmate at the end. What did you make?
Yeah, it kind of took me by surprise, that checkmate at the end, because I kind of wasn't planning I wasn't really planning it at all. It was only because the queen was there ready to be taken by my bishop that I realised I was basically in checkmate. So I was kind of I knew it was going to be there somewhere. I was going to get to a stage where I could mate him, and then it kind of suddenly came out of nowhere. So yeah, it was nice to get that. Yeah,
because we were wondering. I think both of us were thinking that when you had that opportunity at the end to just take the queen with your bishop, that we would just do that and it would be a really clean win. But the computer was saying like mate in 5 or mate in 6 or something, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with what you did in creating the mating net. And I'm just trying to find the key moments in this game.
Yeah, I'm actually looking now, and again I completely missed that after move 31, where he moves his king to f3. Again, if I'd have noticed that I could have taken his queen there, I would have just taken it. But I was obviously too fixated. I was too fixated on trying to keep him in check.
You didn't actually realize you could, because I thought it was a very good skewer when you moved your bishop to f1. Skewering his king.
It was a very good skewer. I just didn't realise I'd done it. No, I think I was so fixated on keeping him in check and working him down to this bottom side of the board that so I could use my queen, that I didn't even realise I could have taken the queen there. So yeah, I should have done that earlier.
Oh, interesting to hear, because we were saying how you were also attacking this bishop. The rook could have taken the bishop, so we were saying, do you just take the bishop, or have you seen this bishop f1 move? So yeah, it's interesting to hear that. But yeah, well done. That's a draw. Are you pleased with how Division 2 is going at the moment?
Oh yeah, I'm thrilled. I thought I'd lose every game, so yeah, I'm chuffed a bit. Like I said on our stream yesterday, I got soundly beaten by Axel Tan. But then I've beaten FPL Alex, and I lost to FPL Slovakia, but it was a good match, and we still have to finish that one off actually. And then a draw tonight I thought was pretty fair.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, well played today. We were very impressed with how you played.
I'm practicing hard.
Yeah, keep it up. Keep it up. We're seeing good signs of improvement, definitely. Yeah, so I think we might play a few Blitz games now, or maybe Daniel in the chat can play Isaac.
Daniel
Yeah,
wants
he's
to play.
talking the talk. He's talking the talk. Maybe you should call him up on it.
We'll see how his
Yeah.
chess skills are. If you're there,
Uh,
put your chess.com
Joel.
username in the chat.
Joel, let's hop off the call, and you can spectate.
Cool. We'll do that. We'll just wait until we'll just keep you on until he's until the game's pretty much set up. So yeah, if you're there still, Daniel, put your chess.com username in the chat. I know there's a delay, to be fair, so we're probably waiting on that.
Yeah, he said let's play Blitz now, so I'm assuming it means he's gonna take you up on the offer.
Yeah, I think he's better off playing Isaac because he's slightly better at Blitz than I am. He seems to beat me when we play the faster time controls.
Slightly, not by a lot, but when we play
Rapid, because I like Rapid and I'm quite.
Yeah.
I think I'm better at it. I'm much better at Rapid. So like players like Wombat
so.
can give a really good game in Rapid, but at Blitz you just obliterate me. So, have you played any Blitz, Steve-O?
I haven't actually. I've been sticking to this to Rapid. Actually, that's a lie. I have played some Blitz and about a month ago and got absolutely battered. So I just stuck to this this setting that you've got the tournament and the league set to, and thought I'd get used to it. And I was saying yesterday that I've never really run out of time, and that's exactly what happened in the first game. So
yeah,
it can get you.
Well, if you want to improve your chess, don't play Blitz. Keep playing Rapid because it's better for your game when you actually have the time to analyze things.
Yeah, I get that impression. Even watching, watching chess videos of people like Magnus and Hikaru, it's always the Blitz games where they make mistakes, and the proper games, no one ever seems to make a mistake. It's just, it just gets so technical.
It seems to be the way forward, though. Blitz chess. I guess it's really entertaining.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Well, I think the way forward in professional chess is sort of still classical, but also rapid. Magnus, during lockdown, has been hosting quite a few rapid tournaments online with the biggest and best players on the planet. And it's been very entertaining, obviously, for viewers. And by that I mean not the chess-heavy guys that are really into chess and love classical as well, but the more casuals. I think they like to see the rapid games where we see more mistakes,
Yeah. In fact, he's got a whole. He's called the Chess Tour.
Joel, Daniel has challenged me.
Right.
3-minute game.
I will find your match. Okay, feel free to hop off now if you like. Thanks for joining us. It's been great.
Yeah.
My word!
Great fun.
What's going on with my laptop? Okay. There we go. Okay. I'm going to suggest that they play four games, a 4-game match.
Okay.
There you go. I've put it in the chat to them. I don't know if you can see it as well, Steve. Feel free to, if you can stay if you like, but if you don't want to stay, no obligation. It's up to you.
Yeah, I think I'll log off and enjoy it on the stream while I eat some food. But thanks again for having me, and thanks for commentating. I'll watch it back later.
No worries, and well played today.
Cheers, mate. See you later.
See you soon. Bye. Right, let's see let's see if Daniel can walk the walk after talking the talk. So yeah, they're playing. So Isaac and I were playing 3 and 2, so we get a 2-second increment after every move. They've got no increment, so it's literally 3 minutes for each player, which means we could very easily see timeouts. And Isaac has gone for this setup that I used against him yesterday, and we saw that Steve-O had, and he's played a quick B4 as well, which is interesting. I might struggle to keep up, and the analysis is going to be a lot more surface level. There's not going to be any deep ideas at this point, especially as it's just me trying to talk and analyse the chess at the same time. But yeah, White has got this space on the queen side again. Black will look to attack on the king side. But really, when you're playing blitz like this, you just want to be playing good, not necessarily the best move, but just good moves quickly. You do not have the time to think what is the very best move. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. But it's very even so far. I'm going to keep a close eye on the time. So yeah, whilst White has this space on the queen side, planting those 2 rooks in the open B file that Daniel's done is very good. Doubling your rooks is something that is very useful. They can become quite powerful working together on the same file. Yeah, there's not much between them, but Isaac does have a 40-second time advantage, and I expect that to be significant. And whoops, I've just seen that I've gone off the chess game. We should be back. Yeah, we're good. It's because I have these hotkeys switching between the standings and the chess. But anyway, back to the chess, and Black is trying to just mop up these pawns. If he can take this pawn on A4 and then march this pawn up the board, that would be good. He's got to speed up now. Okay. Now Isaac's rook is well planted on the 7th rank. I was just about to say knight to F5 is now a very good move, as the knight is no longer attacking that square. And this position is falling apart for Daniel. That C6 pawn was key in holding things together and stopping this C pawn from advancing. So now I fancy White to win, and he's also got a minute on the clock, so I don't think he's got a chance here. Yep, he had to play king. He had to play king there because he was about to walk into knight F7 check. He wouldn't have lost the bishop, actually, because once the king moves, he'll be out of the pin. What's he going to do now? Oh, I'm behind. Okay, what's happened? I was wondering why the moves weren't updating. Okay, he's lost his bishop. So, yeah, he played the fork, moved the king over, took the knight, then took the bishop, and the position has fallen apart. But it was really tough for him because he's having to play moves like every second because he's running out of time. And there's no way Isaac loses this now. He'll just run the clock down basically. If he doesn't win it on the board first, he's just going to mop up as many of Daniel's pieces as he can. Yeah, takes the pawn. I mean, just resign. Yeah, there we go. He's resigned. Okay, are they going to keep going? Oh, and he even had the audacity to offer a draw. Daniel offered a draw. Wow. Okay, game 2. a few more games, and then I'll be off. It's been a long stream. We flip the board, so I'm viewing it from White's perspective. Yeah, again, just seeing quite a standard D4 opening. This is the sort of stuff that I quite like to play myself. I think it'd be good to have Daniel join the charity FPL Chess League, and if any of you are chess players out there, be it beginner or advanced, please join us next season. We'll be doing one at the start of the new football season, probably, so that we can have our FPL head-to-heads. And may do a tournament or two before that in the gap for FPL players. I'm hoping FPL Dave will join us. He's a 2000 rated, and we've got Wombat who's 1600 rapid but 1800 blitz. So we're still looking for some top players to make life even harder for the likes of myself and Isaac in Division 1, who are the kind of 1500 odd rated players. Yeah, they're just blitzing out moves really quickly. Just probably move the queen up to defend the knight. Then he's got to look to castle, because this pin could become very annoying soon. There's knight to e4 coming. I think he'll probably play knight to e4. Although actually, if he plays it now, he could just take because he's out of the pin. Instead he takes, yeah, it was a free pawn on e4 that he takes with the knight. And yeah, Isaac's just desperate to castle and Daniel's just desperate to castle and get his king out of danger. Because he's coming under a lot of pressure from Isaac, who, as I said earlier, he's, from what I've seen playing against him, he's a very aggressive player, and I'm not a very aggressive player. I like to slowly build my positions up. So in rapid, that's fine, because I can defend well and I can choose the best defensive moves and slowly improve my position, even though he did beat me in our league game. We had some good games. He beat me in both. But in blitz, his aggressiveness means I might have to spend a bit more time thinking how to defend, and I get in time trouble, which is why he ultimately beat me 3-1 yesterday, and why he's better than me at blitz. But Daniel has kind of stabilised things. He's slightly worse, but in blitz, it's no big deal. He's one pawn. Daniel's one pawn down. It's hard to commentate on blitz because you can't really think too deeply because things are just going to change, and I can't can't keep up with all the complications. Okay, yeah. So that's something that's important, because sometimes you might think, oh, my queen's being attacked, I need to move my queen, but sometimes there's good intermediate moves that you can play first. So rook c1 check. He wanted to exchange rooks. I'm not sure whether I like that, whether the exchange of rooks is any good, because now Daniel's rook is on a nice open file, but just pointing out that sometimes intermediate moves can be played. You don't necessarily have to do the obvious thing straight away, though usually that is the case. Likely to see something like queen c6 or c7 maybe. Okay, the threat here is queen takes f7. He's not allowed it by moving the bishop out of the way. Now he's defending that square with the queen, which is very nicely done. I would probably exchange here, because that knight is such a good knight, and this bishop it's fine, but it's not as good as that knight. And it's going to be a pest, so he's gotten rid of it quite rightly. But he's a pawn down to Isaac, and we've got a passed pawn here that is free to run. A passed pawn is a pawn that can just run up the board without any pawns in its way, and that may well become a factor. And again, time is becoming an issue for Daniel. Which is probably why Isaac's spending a little bit longer, because he has the time to spend, just to make sure he plays the right move. See, if this game was 3-2, I would give Daniel a good chance, because he can live off the increments. He'll get the extra 2 seconds each move, and he can keep rattling off moves, but you can't keep rattling off moves forever when there's no increment. So he's got to play nearly instantly now, constantly. And there's a tactic that I can't see. How does he... What's the tactic? Oh, I didn't see the tactic. I've got to try and find it now. Was it rook here? Because... Yes, I think it was rook f1. If you take with the rook, queen, you lose your queen. If you move the king, move the queen down here, check, king moves, and then you win the rook. If you're not sure what I mean, then solves. But I'm glad I was quite proud of myself for finding it, because I was wondering why. But fair enough that Isaac didn't see it, because he's low on time, and Isaac's about to lose. He's got no time. Wow. Okay, me spending time on that tactic has meant that I missed the drama. Soz, guys, I missed the drama. But Isaac had mate in 1 and lost on time, which is devastating. So he did convert his better position, but he spent too long doing it. And when your opponent's in time trouble, you just play really, really quickly and make them lose on time first. So in trying to win the game, he then timed out. Okay, 2 more games. Nice to see that 4 of you are still here, still watching. I'm very, very grateful to you guys, because it's been a long stream, so well done for sticking around. Next week, we'll be back with another game. I'm not sure what the game will be. Might be a Division 1 match, and we'll have some commentary there. I don't know who will be commentating at this point, but maybe we'll see FPL Dave return, and Isaac's due a day off. He's done 3 streams back to back, so we shall see. Meanwhile, I don't have a lot to say about this game because it's even at the moment. This C3 pawn's a bit weak. I don't know why Daniel's thinking so much here. Just take back with either the knight or the queen quickly. Probably with the knight. But again, doesn't matter too much. Okay, knight to h5, trying to trade off his bishop. Which he does. Nice, solid structure. So yeah, your alternative to just castling the king is also playing g3, sticking your bishop there in the middle, and then castling. It's, that setup, or having the pawn on h7 is good, and so is white's setup here. So Isaac's got a slight time advantage again, but only a small one. But Daniel's going into, I think he just needs to move his queen. Just move it to g5 or f6. That's fine as well. In blitz, when you're in a position like that where you just got, you've got to move the queen, just find a good square instantly and move it. Okay. Trying to create threats on the queen side. Now this pawn's currently defended by the knight, but the queen is certainly a lot more active now. It's moved. So what's Isaac thinking about here? Can't he just take back? Yeah, he does, but he's going to lose the pawn anyway, to be fair to him. If I was to pick a side here, I'd probably pick white, because I like his bishop, I like his rooks at the moment, or at least the rook here. I don't know why. He spent quite a bit of time he didn't take. the pawn, which is surprising for me. So what he's hoping to do is take the knight and then capture the pawn. That is why Daniel moved the rook over to defend the pawn a second time. Now that's quite a good position for the knight, actually. It's a bit more active and defended by this pawn, which isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Attacking the queen, so there's a tempo. So he moves back. But again, in all three games, we've had a similar thing where Isaac has had more time. Oh, I do apologise for not capturing the end of the last game as well. And seeing the time scramble at the end, it looked quite exciting. It looked like a bit of a nail biter, but never mind. We could well have another one in a minute. There'll be mistakes everywhere when they get down low on time. Isaac should just play. I'd just play rook b1 instantly if I was. Ooh. Okay, so he's attacking the queen, so he's ignoring the threat on the knight. That's not a problem. This is going too fast for me now, guys. What was there? It was queen to. I think it was. Oh no, you can't move there. Oh yeah, you could. It was queen there. Check. So now he's not being attacked by the rook anymore. Then he could take the knight. But I've got to go back to the live position. What's going on? I missed it again. Sorry, guys. But yeah, time pressure was an issue, and the position on the board was Isaac winning by quite a long way. So he just resigned because he couldn't really survive 15 seconds. Final game, and then that'll be it for the night. If anyone's still there and in the chat, can you tell me what the score is in the Wycombe-Tottenham game? Because as an Everton fan, the winner of the game tonight will play Everton in the next round, and I would love it to be Wycombe, but I would assume it's not going to be. So yeah, another standard D4 opening. This time though, we see White going for this really solid setup of the kind of triangle of pawns, which is another good option, something that I sometimes go for. Hey Daff, good to see you. Come to the end of our stream now with just a blitz game to finish things off. Hope you're doing well. 1-1. Interesting. I didn't see the team news either because of this stream, so I don't know whether Son or Kane started the game, but yeah, it'd be great if there could be an upset, because you know, if we could get beat Wycombe, then we're in the quarterfinals, and then at that point, anything can happen. You know, an FA Cup victory would be the most incredible thing as an Everton fan. As I'm not old enough to have been around in the 80s when we were winning the league and storming things. My dad was. My dad has obviously experienced that. But I have not. So I have just been experiencing disappointment after disappointment. Especially since Moyes left until recently with Carlos. So, and yeah, the best thing that's happened to us is an FA Cup final. So yeah, I'm hoping for another good run this year. Okay, he can play knight e4. Oh no, he can't. I was thinking he can't take with the pawn because the queen falls, but he's also got the knight there that can take, so never mind. Again, same situation. Daniel's, you know, his position's fine. He's level with Isaac, but he is down on the clock, and he just needs to play a bit a bit quicker. I think if we were playing 3-2, he'd be standing a better chance because of the increments, giving him a bit more time. Seems like Isaac's the more comfortable with these time controls where there's no increment. He's just slightly quicker seeing things. Son and Kane benched. Okay, cool. I'm looking at bringing potentially both of them in next week, although the injury to Vardy means I may move straight away. I haven't decided on my moves yet. I was going to roll, actually, but the Rashford injury is making me rethink a little bit. Is that Bale's first goal back at Spurs since he moved back? I can't remember another time when he scored. I'd love to beat Man City next round. Yeah, that would be... I mean, you saw how close Cheltenham ran City. I would imagine Pep would rotate again, maybe not quite as much. He might not play the youngsters, but whilst I'd say it's unlikely that Swansea could get a result against City, stranger things have happened, so I would go into that game with hope, definitely. Meanwhile, in the chess, it's still an even position, but Daniel's got only 30 seconds left, so... Do you think Swansea will go up this season, Daph? I am confident that you'll get the playoffs, but the automatic promotion spots, I think, are right up for grabs. Brentford, I want to see Brentford go up. I'd love to see Brentford go up. It's between Brentford, Bournemouth have gone off the boil, but they'll be in and around it, won't they? Watford too, if their new manager clicks. We'll see what happens, but yeah, I am enjoying owning Lowe in Gaffer. He's done very well for me. Roberts too, although I got rid of him the other day. It was last week when they had their game postponed, which paid off in the end, which is good. Anyway, back to the chess. I'm enjoying chatting about the football though. 15 seconds left for Daniel. Okay, what's happened? The bar's shot up. He's just lost a rook, and now okay, he's got 13 seconds left, but he's only up a knight. Can he convert this? I'm not sure. I'm not sure he's got enough time. Isaac just needs to play really quickly. I don't think there's a threat of checkmate, although he's probably going to try and bring his knight up here. Okay, he's bringing his knight into the action. He's threatening the queen. This pawn's going to run. He's stopping the pawn running, and now his advantage is gone. Probably because these pawns are going to be too much to stop, and I think Isaac's going to be okay, but we've only got 4 seconds. It's got to move. It's got to move now. It's got to move instantly. The bar's going crazy. I mean, it's a time scramble. We've got to make moves straight away, immediately, without thinking. So that is that. 3-1 to Isaac. That was fun. And yeah, that will be the end of the live stream. Just reading your comments, Daff. Best score versus Burnley. Oh, you got him in early, just in case. Trying to kind of get in there before everyone else, hoping that he would do well. That's unfortunate. But sold him for Son. Oh no. Benching Vardy, I think, and rolling. Yeah, that was my thinking too. I don't have KDB, like I was saying. And I was thinking of doing the same and then bringing Son and Kane in for Rashford and Vardy. Would have had to take a -4 to downgrade one for Saka as well. But I'm not sure now after Rashford's flag. So I may just move to Son straight away. We'll see. And then I can do Vardy out. But I'm also considering Calvert-Lewin now he's back. But I would have to go without Kane, and that would worry me a bit. And yeah, huge game Wednesday against Brentford. Yeah, that's going to be a huge game. Can't call it really. And you've owned Roberts since game week 1. Yeah, I was on Bidwell for a while and then doubled up, and then eventually got rid of Bidwell. But yeah, they've been so good, so solid at the back, which has been a a real blessing for us gaffer managers. But yeah, anyway, I'm knackered because this stream has been going on for 2 hours, 2.25 hours now. Well played to Daniel and Isaac. That was fun to watch. Watch a bit of Blitz. And Isaac is saying he gets lucky every time he plays. I'm not sure. I'm not sure he was that lucky. I think he just played well. He's just a bit quicker. But anyway, I'm going to go. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's been really good to have you. Good to see that people are still engaging with this. And yeah, we'll be back next week on Monday for another match. Until then, have a good game week 20. And if you play Gaffer, like Daft does, hope the rest of game week 26 goes well. I've got Firmania captain, so a clean sheet would be lovely. And I'm very scared of Saar because Ali Maxwell, host of the Not the Top 20 podcast, it's a 2-horse race at the moment at the top, and he's got Saar captain. So I'm worried. And I don't particularly like the shape my team's in.